Whoop whoop, it's your boy, Killer J, coming back with you with another edition of Whoops Up, Whoops Down, the Juggalo movie podcast, or whatever I want to call it today. And today, I have a special episode for you. After his epic performance on That Shit Trash, That Shit Fire, from my homies page, TeamMUJ, the Unhappy is here to talk about his favorite film, Robocop. So before we get to that interview, let me get to some little newsworthy thing. On May 2nd, in Vegas at the Dive Bar is Gloom to the Tomb 2, featuring Gloom Unit, Freaky Goldie, Acetone, Boogie, Willie Hayes, Cheesegate, Donnie Menace, a lot of the homies, Lil Titan, all gonna be performing on Vegas on May 2nd. But if you can't make it to that show, don't worry. There is a way to watch the show on Twitch. May 2nd, there will be a live stream of the performance. So if you can't pull up to the Twitch. The Twitch will be under the bio, so you can go ahead and go over there and subscribe to the Twitch account, so you can be a part of that show. Also, coming up is the Gathering of the Juggalos. If you haven't, that's August 13th through the 16th. 25th annual Gathering of the Legends is going to be pretty, I think it's going to be pretty epic. And I think an event that you shouldn't want to miss. Like, you should want to try everything you can to go. I know the price could scare you. $300 is a lot, but what other festivals are charging you and what the gathering is charging you, this is worth the price. There's going to be so much going on. So, if this is your first gathering, there is steps and ways to help you guys be prepared for that. And as we get close to the gathering, I will have links to those help guides as we get closer to the gathering. But start thinking about going now. Start maybe buy your ticket now or start saving now. It's an event that you probably shouldn't miss, like I said, or just don't miss it. Once you go to one gathering, it's hard to miss another one. So there's that. That is the news. Well, I guess the other news is that month of May is going to be when the summer movie season kicks off a little bit with the Thunderbolts. So we'll be getting an interview. We'll do a review for Marvel's Thunderbolts. But also, I have two interviews lined up for the month of May. So I'm pretty excited to have those. One with Will Gates, and then the other one with Humble Among. With Humble Among, we're doing the second movie of Toxic Avenger as me and him gear up for the remake in August. So that's going to be very fun to catch up with him and see where Toxie's at. But that's kind of the news right now. It's kind of when things are going on here. We're going to start picking up in the summer. I'm going to try and find new ways to bring out episodes to you. I'm a little late and haven't really been consistent about uploading, but that will change as the summer comes along. Summer always brings up better opportunities and more chances to experiment. But that is that. So let's get to the interview with Unhappy over Robocop. Okay. All right. Welcome, everyone, to the interview portion. I have here my friend, my homie, Unhappy. Unhappy, introduce yourself to the folks. Tell them who you are and what up.
What up, though? It's your motherfucking boy Unhappy, chilling with Josh Klein on Whoops Up, Whoops Down. Super happy to be here, of course. The homie, we're going to be talking about some Robocop, my favorite movie of all times, without a doubt. I come from Granite City, where the settings at is sort of just like my city. So, watching the movie was just like walking outdoors for real. Uh, so, yeah, this movie holds a very deep place in my heart, without a doubt.
So I met Unhappy at last year's gathering. We were in person. We were kind of Twitter friends and stuff like that. But when I remember you, like, we were waiting in line for the Lazy and Crazy merch. Not day one is when I met you, and I remember you being cool as hell. And then doing Gloom at the gathering was at your spot right there. Got to hang out with you more. So I've known you for a short time, but I already feel like you're a good homie. Always showing love, always showing respect. So I had to get you on here, especially because you were the first person to hit me up when I kind of like put feelers out the first time. So I definitely wanted to get you in right away because, hey, I think you're an up and comer. I think you're a good dude. Anybody who knows you loves you. So this is my chance to expose more people to Mr. Unhappy. I'll
Whoop whoop,
gladly
brother.
do so.
Thank you.
Now back to RoboCop. Okay, I think the what's so familiar, why you feel so connected to RoboCop is like the setting is the Midwest. I mean, it's Detroit. But what's funny is they didn't film it in Detroit. They filmed in Dallas,
No
which,
doubt.
if you know your Juggalo lore, Dallas is Clown Town. So there's, I guess, another familiarity about that too. I think the reason why Verhoeven picked Dallas is because Dallas is an ugly city, and he loved filming it. And then but when's the first time you saw RoboCop? Like, I love asking people what their favorite films are because they kind of like, there's history with it. There's stories about it. There's a connectivity between you and this movie that starts like with nostalgia that you can tap into. So, why RoboCop?
Well, mainly, um, what intrigued me to RoboCop wasn't necessarily the fact of the cop. You know, it was more Clarence and his crew that kind of pulled me into the movie. Believe it or not, I would
Interesting.
watch. We would rent that movie from what, like Dave's Movies and More, or something like that back in the day. You know, a little rental place, and I'd always pick that movie for my weekend pick, if you will. And yeah, I would make up like stories and shit about them guys on like how we would pull capers and shit together. You know, I'm like 10 years old, and we're pulling capers. You know, I'm writing little stories and drawing pictures. Me and Clarence and the boys holding it down, over whooping like a motherfucker.
Over whooping. Oh man. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Because yeah, when it comes to RoboCop, I think it's everybody thinks about the actual robotic cop, but the film is way more than just about RoboCop. Like we spent a lot of time with OCP, with the news, TV before we even get to Murphy and RoboCop. RoboCop is kind of what am I thinking here? Is the product of a situation that was brought upon by Detroit and how corporations use their money and power to corrupt and stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of just what I love about RoboCop and why I watch it more is because of how deep and rich the film is with satire,
Oh my
with
god.
double meanings. Like I watching RoboCop now feels more relevant today. And
Yeah.
the film set in 2029 and how we're not that far away from
No.
that.
Right.
Especially with OCP funding the police, a corporation, a business having the police officers, them paying police officers to do their jobs.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
that
No
is
doubt.
like crazy. It's
That's
not the
crazy.
people. Yeah. So now it's like, is the police officers working for the people or the police works or is the police working for OCP? And I feel when we get to the police officers in this film, you can see a lot of tension. Uh,
Right.
uh, but
And if you know,
Clarence,
if you notice, like a subplot of the movie is the fact that they're trying to rebuild the city, and OCP is going to do that.
yeah,
So they hired Clarence, like Clarence and them are part of OCP. They hired them boys to help destroy the city and cause so much motherfucking mayhem to chase the people out, so they could destroy it and make a new city. Um, so these boys ain't necessarily criminals; they're doing their job. You know
well, yes, they're criminals, but they have the power of they're almost like a double agent because Dick like I
exactly.
don't think the old man reminds me of I don't know a certain somebody right now who
Right.
kind of is portraying that I have a dream kind of thing. This is what I want this idea of Delta City to be, and it's the job of the Boormans to do it in any way they want. But Dick Jones is the guy who goes, I'm the second man command. I want to double dip. Not only do I want to find a replacement for police officers because they're costing too much money and robots are cheaper. I also want to sell this to the military and get double paid. And kind
Yes.
of the way the how police are run today, it's almost like they're another extension of the military, but how much we give them and stuff like that. So this
Right.
movie is saying this in '87, and we're
Showing the
in 2000.
corporate takeover, right?
Yeah,
And in one of the news things, the lady's talking about how all these ex presidents just died up in space. You know what I mean? They killed him up in space, right? These three ex-presidents. And then if you listen during the board meeting, dudes talking about how they got their hands in space too. So it's wondering, did OCP kill these ex-presidents as well? Like
Yes,
they got their hands in all kinds of dirt.
because like the name RoboCop by itself sounds pretty dumb.
Right.
I mean, RoboCop, but it's like, and I think Verhoeven understood that because he got the script and he thought it was dumb. And I was listening to a podcast who said that when Verhoeven got to a certain point, he kind of like got it, and it was it was when RoboCop Murphy is linking back to his going back to his original home and is kind of like, oh my god, like the life that I known is gone because of OCP's actions. So I'm really excited to, even right now, we're about 7 minutes in this conversation. I'm excited to talk about RoboCop. Okay, so my history of RoboCop, I remember watching as a kid. Like I remember it being on, and I remember watching RoboCop 2, and I remember watching RoboCop 3, and I kind of remember what those kind of plot was. But the first one always felt like I knew, but I didn't know. And then the reason why is because the story of how RoboCop became RoboCop is actually, if you strip it down, is a movie that I saw with Humble, Toxic Avenger. It was this. It's like
Mm,
the same. It's the same kind of setup where there's certain differences here, like that. It was like, the Tromaville was kind of rampant with crime in that too, and the politician, the mayor, was benefiting it from it as it well, and kind of like cause that situation to create the Toxic Avenger Toxie. Where I'm watching RoboCop, I'm like, oh my god, it's the same thing here again. The corporation is funding this this Detroit to a point where it's going to gentrify it. It's purposely devaluing it to come back around and double down and make a new city of it. And having Clarence be in charge of the drugs and stuff like that just
hmm
knows like there's a way of controlling everything, which that doesn't always work. But anyways, and I saw how that situation and how, in the Toxic Avenger, he gets vengeance on the people that killed him, right?
Right.
RoboCop, same way. He gets killed, but somehow comes back as a new person or as a superhero's s thing and gets revenge. And there's kind of like he has a directive and kind of thing like Toxic like to save people and then he would kill bad people. Where like RoboCop had his uh would do his would save citizen, but also once he meets the people that kill him, he kind of reveres back to a different way, like different path. Like I saw how those two films were linked. So when I'm watching it again, I'm actually able to see the satire, the differences, and where Verhoeven was going with it. And every time you visit RoboCop, I think as a kid you can enjoy the action, you can enjoy a lot of things. It's when you're an adult, and it sinks um its credibility. It's like if you gave Toxic Avenger like this kind of money, Orion money, like Toxic Avenger would be talked a lot more and be on level with RoboCop. I think we had to have the Toxic Avenger to get RoboCop, in my opinion. It's what it seems like now. It's a 3-year difference, and Verhoeven is an artist. He was aware,
Right. No doubt. No doubt.
but Clarence. The thing you said, because you said Clarence, and now growing back as an adult, Clarence is the character. I love him as a villain,
He's a great villain. And
and I
he's
love
not your typical
how
villain at the time either.
no. Oh no! Usually, the upper villain doesn't have a lackey. Like he's Dick Jones. Like Dick Jones is his boss. But
Right. Clarence was like, he's balding. He's he's got glasses. He's not the guy that you would expect to be running this, this drug operation and smuggling guns. And
well, I think the ultra violence of the film allows Clarence and his boys to be a step higher than the sniveling villains. Because when the Murphy's death scene happens, even though we're watching this man get brutally shot by shotguns, we were having a good time. We were
yeah.
like laughing and like, oh my god, look how charismatic these guys are
Oh, it's
as
yeah.
their because Murphy himself, when we meet him, he is kind of milk toast, bland, boring.
hmm
So,
Yep.
when, like, but that's okay because he's going to be turned to a robot where he's gonna have the same personality. So like that fit up. So you needed to have more of a character. You needed to care. So having Clarence, who some people who watch that '70s show first will then watch this movie and go, "Oh my god, it's Red," and you're seeing Red unleashed, and you're like, "Holy
Unleashed.
shit!" Like
And Leon from Twin Peaks, they'll be like, man, that's the dude from Twin Peaks. You know what I mean?
correct. There's a guy from ER. There's a lot of like people that you're well known. Dick Jones, like he's actually in the bad Captain America movie where he plays president. Like these guys are everywhere. Like these, I like this movie, and I continue to go back to this movie because of the whole like everything just kind of worked. It could have
Right.
been very dumb, but it actually works in a way with once you go with the ultra violence, you can kind of see how funny the movie is and kind of
Right.
horrific because
Yes.
you kind of feel bad for Murphy at some point.
You really do. Yeah, that's yeah, until they unleash him and change his code where he can go against his prime directives, you know. He's kind of handcuffed and hopefully that's the way they keep the robots under their prime directive, you know. There it is. Just blend it in.
So
I've
you
been
want?
looking for this lighter. Finally found
I hate that you're looking for a line and now you find it.
it.
Okay, so Clarence and crew was your boys. Okay, I
They
think.
really was. And Emil was my favorite. If you know who Emil is, he's the guy that fell into the toxic waste bath at the end. He almost had a Joker ending to his gimmick, you know. That was my boy. Like,
And his death is great because he gets crushed by a car.
yeah, yeah. When he's coming out all sloppy, man, that was really a hard watch to see all that skin coming off of his body like that. Ugh.
Yeah, it's so good.
But you know what's crazy about if you find out his backstory, he was actually a former chemist turned, and the drugs took him over. So for him to go out like that was super crazy.
Where did you get that information from?
They have a comic book too that tells
Oh,
the
okay.
backstory of the homies.
All right. So you were in that deep. So you collected comic books and everything.
Well, I read them, I mean, online and stuff after the fact as a grown man. I wish I could have found some of them comics as a kid. And matter of fact, the dude that did the Arkham comics, right? He was a part of that movie, and he's the one that helped out with that scene where RoboCop pulls the dude through the wall. That
Oh yeah,
uh,
where that well, okay, that would remind me of kind of where we're going, where a politician lost, and instead of like gracefully leaving, he said it's a fraud and holds everybody up.
yeah, and
And
apparently they pulled that from a real story.
I can see that.
Yeah,
I think they over embellished it, but yes.
and the real story on that thing is whenever the dude went to court and he actually killed somebody in the office. His defense was the Twinkie diet defense. He said that goddamn he switched his diet to Twinkies, and that's the reason why he went psycho and killed them people.
Shut the fuck up.
That was his defense, bro. Real shit.
Shut the fuck up. You no.
Hey, you look it up. Google's a real machine, dog. I'm telling you.
Yes, Twinkies are bad for you. Don't eat Twinkies,
Don't eat
but they're
Twinkies. They
not
might.
going to drive you to murder.
Hey,
Okay.
the Twinkie defense, bro. It's a real thing.
Oh man, that just reminds me of the episode of South Park where they use the Chewbacca defense. How many times have you seen the movie?
Whew, Lifetime. Man, I can't even count. It's probably that and Home Alone, the top two I've ever
Home
seen in my life.
Alone.
Home Alone. It's Rhonda's favorite, and we watch it like
Oh, there you go.
on repeat on during Christmas time, without a doubt.
I haven't seen the first Home Alone in God knows when.
Man, that's the
I don't
story.
plan on. Well, okay. So there was a plan for it when I had my old show, The Look Back. We were already discussing season 2 and what I was gonna do with like an in between thing. Like, hey, this is a finale, getting ready for the new season. I was like, oh, we'll do a holiday special and we'll watch Home Alone because like I wanted an excuse to watch that again. And I think one got to October, everything's just kind of fell apart. So
Okay.
maybe I'll get down with it again as we get close to winter.
Bro, you doing
Christmas
Home Alone? Holla at your boy Christmas edition. Let's go.
Christmas edition, Home Alone. Maybe you have to remind me. I put Rhonda on here because it's her favorite movie.
Hey, she'll kill it, bro.
Mm, okay. Okay. Wow. That's a combo right there, and you probably could watch it back to back, honestly.
Real shit.
Because I have questions about Home Alone too. I mean, they rich. Like I don't. It's hard for me to feel bad about Kevin at all. But anyways,
It's like, are they CIA? There's all kinds of like Easter eggs to that boy too. Like, is Elvis in the picture? You know what I mean? There's all kinds of things like that.
wow. Well, there's a lot of stuff in this movie. I'll tell you that. I like how the best like. Okay, so my very first Verhoeven film was actually Starship Trooper.
Oh, that's one of my favorites as well. That's a great movie.
And that movie also starts not with with our characters, but kind of like I love the idea of establishing your world through the news, through me like other mass media, because that will tell you right away kind of what the world's going on there. And the movie starts with the news, kind of like what old Detroit's like. Which when I hear old Detroit, it's weird because like Akira is about to come out, and they use old Tokyo. So the idea of a old city like that
Mm,
being wasted and barren a little bit from a distant future was
right.
very curious. Anyways, the movie starts like that, and and then we spend a lot of time with OCP with the guy who's actually going to create. Because I think after the news, we get into the board meeting. We might get Murphy before that too, but we get to the kind of the board meeting when we kind of realize that hey, we transferred these people already for this program. But
Right.
I want to actually want to get to the first board meeting because when we because that's kind of like that's the tip of the cap that this movie is hilarious. So we're let me get the people up so I don't know who I'm referencing here.
No
Bob,
doubt.
I think his name is Bob. Robocop
Yeah,
87.
Bob. Good old Bob.
Bob Morton. Okay, so once we get to the news and stuff like that, the next kind of like scenes we get is the war. We spend more time with the OCP. We meet Bob and this guy who kind of what's his name? All right, Bob.
Mr. Kenny.
Oh, this other direct. He doesn't really have the Felton Perry, the other black guy that always like is there.
Oh, his crony.
His
Right. His
crony.
homie.
Anyways, so
You better watch out. Dick's gonna get you.
OCP, we follow OCP, so it's kind of like all right, and we get that first board meeting, and we don't know. We kind of understand because of the news that Detroit is kind of, especially old Detroit, is has a cop murders and stuff like that. Another cop died. There's an unrest in the city, and crime's really freaking bad.
Right.
But these newscasters are saying all this with a smile.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when all the stuff with space also with a smile. So kind of like, oh, there's a sense of like, oh, everything is fine and kind of dark, and everybody's kind of like, especially when we get to the guy, like, I'll buy that for $1. Like, there's a sense of not okay. I guess the word is nihilistic. The film
Right.
feels very nihilistic, and you could find some funny things about doom and gloom stuff if you're nihilistic. Um, but once we get to the new stuff, once we get to the OCP, we follow Bob, who later will create the Robocop program. You know, we're kind of getting ready for this board meeting. We kind of already know who the old man, kind of like his visions for Delta City. I think in that scene, we're also heard Dick Jones and kind of how like he's like right by the old man, and just ambition. Bob has ambition, and in a capitalist world, ambition and you got to have it to succeed and make money. Capitalism is all about making money. So anytime you're in a position of power, you're always trying to find what more power. So
That's it.
Is pretty good about his program, and he thinks Dick Jones is getting his away. Well, this board meeting shows an opportunity.
Absolutely.
because Dick Jones introduced his model of, cops are costing too much money because they're dying and stuff like that. Hey, they're costing us too much money. We need to think of a alternative motive to maybe back up the cops. I mean, like, this is call for backup. Like, these are going to be an assistant program first, and then once Delta City's made, they're going to patrol the city Star Wars style.
But
Star
hey,
Wars style.
but another thing is if whenever everything goes down after that, Bob brings up the point that it seems like that they're killing these cops on purpose
Oh, they are.
to try to get to this Robocop program. You know what I mean? They're setting these cops up and putting them in the most dangerous positions. They got like an algorithm on the shit, you know?
Yeah, yes. So they are. I'm going to get there too because when we meet Murphy, he's like, I transferred from South, and the
Hmm.
sergeant was like, well, why did they transfer here? Like, I don't know. Well, there's more action here. So yeah, so once this board meeting happens, we meet Ed 209, Dig's version of a robot as a cop, and they do a simulation of an armed robbery thing. I don't like it, which is actually kind of funny that they start with that and not just maybe some like a pettier one where it doesn't cause Ed 209 to, I don't know, kill him. But anyways, and Ed
Good point.
209 could not register when the gun was away. So when he gets tore up, it's excessive. And one of my favorite lines in that boardroom is after Ed 209 gets shut down and everybody's assessing the scene. Somebody goes, "Call an ambulance, call a paramedic." Somebody go, like, that dude is dead. There is no
He's
call him ward. But the fact that somebody said, "Call an ambulance," just like
That's
they don't
great.
understand the situation that they're in, and that's when Bob goes like, "Hey, I got a program that I'm ready to go. We have prime subject that should be ready within 90 days." So like when you first watch the movie, that's just kind of jargon for you, but
It
when the
just goes.
second or third time you watch it, you're realizing how much the pieces are being in place here for this RoboCop program to try to get this corporation to start Delta City, where they're gonna start ranking in some money, like polishing, like get rid of Detroit and make Delta City, almost like burying it the culture and starting over with the fresh new whatever. Which that doesn't mean makes it better. But then that's when we kind of introduced to Murphy a little bit, and we kind of realize we won't spend a lot of time with Murphy. I think we get to spend like he spends one patrol. I think he dies on his first fucking
I
day.
think so. Yeah.
So
Yeah, he does because they're eating. They're just getting to know each other at the
he's
eating
driving.
chili cheesies,
Yeah,
right? Yeah, they're eating the chili cheesies, and then they get the call.
and then they do. He does his gun twirl thing that we is TJ laser twirl that his son will do, which is very key because that shows that the RoboCop actually has some Murphy in him because he does the little spin. Like there's
Some regards, right?
Verhoeven does a really good job with just there's certain things that he wants you to pay attention to. One was that like he put the camera there and made sure you were there to spend the whole tour. I think we've seen him do it a couple times. We've seen two scenes with Murphy doing it or seeing the memory of TJ Laser. So like, hey, like remember this. It's like
No doubt. And Lewis even comments on it, like, "What in the hell you doing that like that with your gun for? You
yeah,
think you're an action figure hero or something?"
yes, yes. Just because we don't get to see Murphy with this son and wife, but they're such a key role with the humanity that's left in RoboCop. So like these earlier scenes with Murphy really just needs to drive home because what's going to happen to him is Christ-like.
Yeah, no
Um,
doubt.
he
Especially
becomes
during the shooting. Yeah,
right. He becomes a Christ figure because he's going to be, um, he died for the sins of OCP, and
and
is
was
going to come back
resurrected.
and resurrect it and clean up their mess,
Yep,
basically.
no doubt.
So yes, RoboCop is a
Oh,
Christ figure. I think that works a lot. And when you think about Jesus, is like a lot of people talk about him, and like we don't get a lot of time with Jesus per se. So you can say that Murphy, just because of even the way he looked was just kind of waxy, just stoned, like and just robotic a little bit.
no doubt.
So when we and then when we get
and
to
and deemed as like a savior to the police department. You know what I mean?
yes, well, say yeah, well, to be the savior of Detroit,
Yeah.
which Detroit wanted a statue of RoboCop. We'll get there later, but um yeah, so
I remember that now. Yep.
so once Murphy and his partner, they show her being capable a little bit because her introduction was her beating down a perp, and
Lewis.
Lewis, yes, she beat down the perp. So it's like, hey, she's actually not a pushover. She actually can handle her own. Cool. Like we need maybe a quick scene of that.
Right.
So,
No doubt.
but so now we got Murphy and Lewis on patrol, and they run into Clarence, and that's when we get back to like I feel like we this is our first introduction to Clarence, like
Yes.
a scene with Clarence and his crew, because the
Wait,
news the news showed a mug photo of him and his
they
boy.
did, but before that though, we seen that the bank robbery where
This
we
is the
that's
scene.
when we met Clarence.
This is the scene. This is the bank
Oh,
robbery
okay,
scene.
yeah, the bank
Yeah,
robbery.
because
Okay, yeah, yeah.
because Clarence is looking at the money and they realize they burned it, and he gets pissed off at his boy and
This
just
is
like,
when they meet. Yeah,
yes,
and he kicks the dude out the window who burnt that money. Actually,
correct, because he got shot too. Like, oh no,
right? Yeah, people were
and
like,
his
"Oh, that's
line,
how he does his boys," but it was like, actually, dude fucked up.
he
He
did.
fucked up the money. You know what I
Well,
mean?
yeah, you don't fuck with the money.
You
That's
don't
what
fuck
I've
with it,
learned a lot when it comes to being in a capitalist situation. You don't fuck with people's money. You don't do it. Anyways,
especially Clarence. Shit.
Clarence, yes. So, yes. So we were already introduced to what Clarence looks like because the news was telling us
Yeah.
about him and him being a cop killer.
Mm-hmm.
So when Murphy and Lewis are introduced to this bank robbery scene, that's when we cut to Clarence and his crew, and you're thinking, oh fuck, Murphy's is probably gonna get it because look, all it's two against, and they have shotguns, they just got pistols. So
Right. Right.
and then they lead him to like that plant place, and Lewis meets Joe taking a piss, and
Yeah.
she couldn't help but look at his dick. I thought that was
Yeah.
that's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. And then that's when Murphy, gets a meal first. He actually got him, did it right, and that's when we've seen that Murphy's actually a good shot as well because he takes down two dudes, and then was about to arrest Emil, and then he ran into everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Clarence introduction. I think Kurtwood Smith just plays this character so well. He just comes in and goes, funny thing, cops don't like me. I
Yeah.
don't like cops either. And then when he blows off, Murphy's hand, he just kind of like me, like just this guy like he feels powerful. He feels like in he tries to even emasculates Murphy a little bit, touching him a little bit, like making him almost like his bitch a little bit, knowing
Yeah.
that there's nothing that Murphy could do in this situation. But Murphy is such a cop, a good boy, that he will still do his job in the face of death.
Yeah, he's just a cat playing with his prey. You know what I mean?
Yes. And the fact that it's like uh, Clarence got that first shot in the hand, gave it to everybody else, not thinking that he was already done. The fact that Murphy even lived through that, I think that even pissed off Clarence even more. He's like, all right, I'm bored, and just pop right in the head. And it's kind of implied that he actually lives through that too.
Yeah,
That
because they take him in. Yeah.
because he's technically still alive.
Mm-hmm.
As they're doing surgery before he dies. So, that's why Murphy at that moment, as they're trying to keep him alive, is kind of like purposely imprinting his brain to make sure that he doesn't forget the people that murder him.
You know, another part that's super crazy about that scene that I always remember, it was the first time as a child, like I thought of like what it'd be like to get your lights cut out. You know, whenever
Mm.
Murphy gets shot, boom, it goes into that ting ting, and then he wakes up, he's at the hospital, and then he blacks out again. And, in the back of your mind, you're always like, what happens if that light don't come back on, Playboy? You know?
Yeah,
Like hopefully it does come back on with a screen or something like ching 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 ching. Just like that's the sound it makes when Robo comes back to ching 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 ching. Zzz.
yeah. So I think that was another a good way too. Is that we were hinted about the RoboCop program, but we didn't spend time with we didn't go switch to Bob and get his point of view. We got the point of view from RoboCop's point of
Robocop.
view.
Yep.
Yeah,
coming back, being resurrected. Like we
right.
went through that whole thing, the whole experience with him in
Yes,
POV.
yeah, I think that was a brilliant move to even for even the audience to gain even sympathy for RoboCop later, because we are seeing his first moments and we can see that like there's certain things, oh no, he's still alive, or hey, cut the, but even those bits and pieces, we kind of can look at OCP and how they don't care about Murphy the human.
No,
Kind of like they like the arm's still attached, not cut it off. We're like, we don't
hey,
need it.
and that was a fatal mistake for Bob. He didn't know it at the time, but him cutting off that arm, we'll talk about that later. But that's what wound up doing him in. Oh,
Yeah,
Bobby. Yeah.
possibly. Yeah, because everybody was just
Well,
really
that's what he wound up stabbing him with was that missing arm.
that was
That was the missing arm
well,
that
no,
he
that
had
arm
cut
was
off.
to kill. That was RoboCop didn't kill Bob. Bob was killed by Clarence. Bitches
Oh, my
leave.
bad. Oh yeah, my bad.
But yeah, but so actually it's awarded to Bob to cut that arm off to get
To get
that, because
that
that
jump.
arm was then used to jack into the internet
It got
to
him his power back and all that. Right.
yep.
Yeah, that's what
So
I meant. Like that arm came back to haunt them motherfuckers in the end.
true. Well, or became the true savior of Detroit. We'll argue if he actually does that, because I feel like there's a fatal flaw in RoboCop a little bit. Um, but yeah, the moment we get to see RoboCop turn on, and when they finally get us that reveal, it's an impressive looking suit. It looks well. Like it being from 87, like when we talk about the Ed 209 scene, they had to use stop motion a little bit, and some
Right.
of those are kind of like meh.
Even
it
at the
gets it
time
gets
they was
worse
like
later
that.
in the movie. It gets worse later in the movie, but at that moment I'm like, it's the aesthetic of the film a little bit, and the practical effects of the Murphy death is so violent because they're just, he's getting shot up by shotguns.
Right.
uh, so at this point, when we get to the RoboCop reveal, oh my god, it is a fun reveal, and then the movie changes for me. The movie just completely changes and becomes even more funny, kind of thing.
Okay.
Just thinking about a man and a robo cop and what that actually means and stuff like that. Now we're actually seeing it, and then he's like going on his first patrol, and Bob's like, "Yeah, go get him, boy."
Throws him the keys.
Yeah, yeah, go
And yeah,
get him.
it's like you went straight into a comic book at that point.
Correct. And yeah, and comic books are silly. Like he's
With
supposed to
the
save. The scene that he stops a bank robbery, and it's like, oh my god! But the way he treats that criminal, like it's like police brutality on steroids. He knocks him. RoboCop knocks him the thing that damages the fucking property of the convenience store.
No doubt. Throws him through the cooler. And the coolers are expensive, bro.
Oh shit!
Man.
So yeah, so maybe that robbery maybe should have happened. I don't know, because it's gonna
Shot, yeah,
cost
the
those
dude
people
shot up the
more.
store. What was cool is when he bent that gun though.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, the bull is getting ricocheted.
No
Stop
doubt.
creep. And then the rape attempt.
Oh yeah.
He shot the dude's like pretty much the dick,
Yes. No
and
doubt.
then the girl's like, "Oh, thank you, RoboCop." And it's kind of like he's
Hey, I
not.
got a rape specialist line you can get a hold of,
It's the,
lady.
yeah, it's that, and then like the fact that he doesn't want to touch her.
Right.
It's just like, I will call. You are stressed, and you are. It's like it's funny as hell. Just seeing
And
this
then
guy interact.
they got him at the preschool hanging out with the kids.
Yes. Don't be bad, or else. It's like, wow, threatening kids on the news. But what's interesting, and they went back to his old precinct, so Julie was still there. So Julie was the one that started like, hey, what's your name? It's you. Like it's you're Murphy. So we need, like, the fact that we had spent time with Julia Murphy, we needed somebody to give him back his humanity, because like prior to that, yeah, I think he was RoboCop like the way that they wanted him to be.
Right.
Knowing that he was actually like a good for the community, I would argue that he might cause more harm. He might cause more damage, and that maybe criminals who maybe shouldn't have deserved to die do die. Now, does a rapist deserve to get shot in the dick? Yeah, yeah.
Right. Right. They
I'm
do.
not I'm not
They
gonna.
really do.
Yeah, so it's that point where RoboCop even runs into Emil again, and that's when it's like now we're like once we were introduced to RoboCop, we saw RoboCop, 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 and then it gets kind of like what my name is Murphy, your name is Murphy, and then he meets somebody, goes, hey, only thing that clicked to Emil that maybe RoboCop is Murphy is the line,
Mm.
"Dead or alive, you're coming with
Come with
me,"
me.
and that's a badass
We
line.
killed you, mother.
We killed you. And then it kind of just like whoa, that kind of like now Murphy, because like they used his brain. So the RoboCop, the reason why OCP needed a human, because they were probably like, well, Ed 209 straight robot. Why the biocomatics? All right, so they wanted to kind of like use a police officer who's really good and that knows how to be a police officer as a shorthand. So when they added the other portions of the program of the robot, Murphy already had that in his brain, so they can then use that information into that, and that's how RoboCop was made, is through like the machine was able to allow him to be more a better detective, but to how to be a police officer, that
Right.
was Murphy.
No
That was
doubt.
all Murphy, and they needed his brain. So once the brain starts remembering who it's is it, I guess it's also about organ donation too. You think about it, it's like what is there a part of that will remember who if it like this is not my body, but the fact the brain starts remembering or starts questioning about okay the self, the brain is a supercomputer. Sooner or later, it's gonna like question on who he is and what's going on, especially when it's being identified. Like I don't understand, and this the RoboCop vast wants to learn, and computer wants to learn. Like computer, especially
Right.
when like, hey, you're this, you are this.
And
What?
it's getting conflicting information because it's telling me can't go, it's going against his prime directive to try to do his directive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
So yeah, when RoboCop turned on, we saw even I think that's the really cool thing for the movie to do, that they actually showed us and didn't tell us that RoboCop had three prime detectives. He had prime detectives, three of them, like one to uphold justice, protect humanity, be a good citizen or something like that. That's just generic. Just like what a good cop should be. And there's a fourth one that pops up that's question marks classified, and we don't know what that is. What we
right.
find out later is that RoboCop cannot arrest senior officials of OCP. So if somebody of the board does something illegal, RoboCop cannot arrest them. Does not now make RoboCop a good cop. Now it makes him corrupt.
He makes him part of the problem. He's like, he's part of what it looks like he's doing good, but really he's helping these people tear down the city too.
Yeah, well, because corporations only care about one thing, and it's their bottom line, and it's about their money. They don't really care about the people and the lives that they affect, and that's kind of what RoboCop is. Is like they're not thinking about the people that this thing is going to cause harm to, because they don't care about those people.
Right.
They only think about military, they think about money and stuff like that. Like that's their prime directive for the board, money. And they think that
It.
Delta City brings these jobs in to build the thing, and now you're having a bunch of business coming in. Oh, you're seeing it, you're seeing the vision, but they're not seeing who lives there currently.
Right. That they need to
Gentrification.
get out. They need to get them people out so they can continue to build this. What was the city again? I forget the name of it.
Delta City.
Delta City. Yeah, to build
Yeah.
that over
Not even
Detroit.
not erasing the cultural history of Detroit at that point. Calling it Delta City would erase what Detroit used to mean to people who live there and stuff like that. Like RoboCop is kind of the problem. The fact that he gets this revenge Murphy thing kind of brings back a little more humanity back into him, because now he at the end of the movie he goes, it's Murphy. Like my name is Murphy. For a while it's RoboCop, until he finds out the prime directive is that Dick Jones is in on it, because as RoboCop is, once he figures out he's Murphy, and then he starts going on his own way. That's when he's trying to figure out who murdered Murphy, which actually, isn't. He was doing his job there. He's taking murderers off there. He's getting two birds stoned there. He is solving a murder, and he was solving his own murder. So
Yeah. But he went from a cop to a detective.
Kind of, yeah. He kind of, and then you know what? It kind of like pissed. Like he started like they didn't know that RoboCop could dream. So there's
Right.
certain aspects of OCP not understanding what they have and how like horrifying it actually is because the fact that RoboCop dreamt, got up on his own and like left on his own. There's
Right.
telling that they no longer have control over this thing anymore. The thing has
It's
its
that's what it
own
wants
thing.
to. Right. And if they would have been looking at, remember they was like joking around, not paying attention when all the scans and everything was going off. They would
Nope.
have had a fair warning about what was
Yes.
going on with Robo if they was really paying attention.
No.
But
No.
that seemed to be the beat of OCP is they just do shit half ass. You know what I
Cool.
mean? Cut a bunch of corners, who cares? And then it would always backfire on them every
Well, yeah.
single
Well, because
project that they had.
Ed, Dick Jones purposely knew that Ed 209 was faulty.
Right.
But he's thinking about repair contracts, this contract, military contract. He's just thinking like like, and sometimes like why is cars not as good as they used to be? It's because money.
Right.
Why
Right.
I want you to buy more cars, right? Why would I want you to buy one car that lasts you forever? You're not gonna buy new parts. We're not gonna put faulty parts in there. Hell no. We're not making things to last anymore. We're making things to last for so long, so then we have to buy new ones.
Yeah, and that's a running joke in the movie about the
Correct.
car being a piece of shit, right?
Yeah.
And it's actually the car that Clarence has, because at one point, I think it was Joe Cox that told him, he's like, "Ain't that the car you got, Clarence?"
Yeah.
Oh shit! But yeah, that's a running joke in the movie about them cars just being trash.
Yeah. Yeah. It just shows that the that money kind of like really taints our mindsets and kind of and actually the pursuit of power causes us to think of humans lesser than they are. They're just a consumer. You're trying to sell a product to a consumer. That's all it is to you. You're not thinking anything else is that because like they could actually do real good OCP if they use their money in a certain way. Like I don't know, use their money to fund schooling,
Right,
fund. They could do the construction product. Why do they need to kick everybody out? Like you give those jobs there now, it can actually help everybody else, and you can beef up police. It's just like they are so worried about. They just want to start from scratch that they just don't even care about the people they even live there.
right,
Which RoboCop kind of shows that he does care about. I don't know if he does care, but like he does bring some sense of safety to people
right.
if you don't cross them.
Right, and I was here. I heard somewhere that they titled "The Old Man" after Reagan. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
yes,
So that would make Dick like George Bush, and he's part of an alphabet organization that pulls just the kind of stuff that the OCP does. You know what I mean? Like
yes,
same kind of beat. So if you kind of look at it that allegory, it's like it's the movie really does have a deeper social.
yes. It's more than its stupid premise, and I think that's why I keep enjoying the movie. I think the reason why the movie is so at this point feels timeless. The only thing that really sets it back a little bit is the special effects of Ed 209 and the death of Dick Jones. If you take those scenes away and maybe improve them just a little bit,
It
God, like
stands up. Yeah, it really
it
does.
stands up because of the practical effects that they use and just the social commentary and satire that the film has. It's a commercial film that's doing things that not very is not very commercial. It's true. I mean,
Right.
a RoboCop couldn't come out today. Um,
Probably not. No.
in 2014, there was a remake, so it's already been 10 years, over 10 years since they tried to do it again. But they failed.
It fell very flat.
Did you see it?
Yeah, of course I did. Yes.
Okay, I've never seen it.
Yes, I have. And they try to take this more futuristic route, like they try to set it 10 more years in the future than now. You know what I mean? And
Mm.
they kind of play that more up than anything. The more futuristic. type of giant. I didn't care for it, but
What do you want in a sequel of if they bring RoboCop back? What would you want?
it would you would have to still capture that, both sides. Like there's a triple play, five different storylines going all on at the same time, and I don't know if they make movies like that anymore. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, A24 does, I would say.
but yeah, that would be a hard one. That would have to be a deep thought type of thing. But you would have to capture the element of that criminal element again, because they to me as a kid, they was just having the time of their life, and I didn't really know the difference. I knew the difference between good and bad, but not the effect it had on people. You know what I mean? So to me, it was just guys having fun. Boom, they blow up a car. Boom, they blow up a storefront. I mean, they're having great. They're watching this TV show that looks like the best show ever. I'll buy that for $1, John. I just
Oddly,
wanted to be
and
with
it's
them.
very oddly sexual too. The show is like anytime you get glimpses of the show they're watching, it's oddly very sexual.
It is. They're putting whipped cream on women, and they're throwing money in the. I guess it's a show to try to see how far somebody will go for $1. So
And then you get the commercials of the Nukem game. It's like blow them all up, and it's like oh, it's like Battleship, but we actually use nukes, and it's just like oh, just this world feels way, yeah, like I said, nihilistic a little bit.
right, and it was a thought that just came to me is like, is that what the world would look like after World War III? Something like that, because people are used to dying, and everybody, you're playing this blow up game, and
I actually don't think we're far from. That's why I enjoy the movie now. Is like I don't think we're that far from that happening to us,
right, right.
especially right now, right now. Like this was because a lot of the stuff that's going on here was birthed because of Reagan's 80s. Like we
Yes,
don't we don't get what we're going through now without the Reagan 80s because that's the time that they want to go back to. Well, whatever. Um, but yeah, it's funny that Detroit claims like wants to claim it just like they're Rocky.
mm, it is crazy.
Well, I mean, set in Detroit and like you want to celebrate a pig. At the end of the day, like this is super pig.
Right, like. Yeah, that's crazy to me because it's like it portrays Detroit as exactly almost like it is.
I'm telling you, we're not that far away from this future, man.
But in that being said, they are trying to rebuild the city, and they do have their own model of what they think Detroit should look like. And only thing that needs to go is the crime. So yeah, it is almost a perfect allegory for the city.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been to Detroit a couple times. I enjoyed Detroit. It
Me
reminds
too.
me
I
of
loved it.
it's a bigger Dayton. Like
No
I
doubt.
like it's a. I'm in a lot. I'm from the Midwest, so it reminds me of a lot of Midwest cities.
Yeah. It
No harm, no
reminded me of
foul.
Granite City. Yep.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
I mean, the thing is now you can smoke weed in Detroit. So it's not a crime.
No doubt.
And recently, I was watching this, and when I was talking to Humble, we were talking about, is this a Juggalo movie with Toxic Avenger? I'm like, yeah, it does. There's some scrubby shit going on here.
No
Now,
doubt.
now, do I think does RoboCop?
Ooh,
Even though I feel like RoboCop can take so much from Toxic Avenger, like, but I don't view it the same. Like, I don't see a Juggalo-ish shit here, except for maybe if because if Juggalos were in old Detroit, they would be Clarence and the crew.
they would. Well, they'd be the inner city posse. You know what I
Correct.
mean?
I mean,
Correct.
like, there isn't like I would say all these characters are just so vile. Like, and because we follow a lot of people with money, it's just like, yeah, like I would. You're supposed to hate OCP, and I guess that's a Juggalo thing to do. Is what makes it more, I would
Absolutely.
say, a Juggalo kind of movie is that it shows you the corrupt nature of 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 a corporation, of what it like. Everybody's like, we should run this like a business. Well, let me show you what will happen, or maybe do a satire tale of what happens when maybe an organization runs a police station,
Mm.
a
Yeah,
police unit, and it's all about money. Like we get shit like this, especially with AI coming up. You give a corporation that just wants to care about money, they get rid of the people and start caring about more robotics. So it's like, hey, these manufacturing jobs are coming in. Yeah, for robots, not for you, for
right.
robots.
Amazon will own all the robots.
Correct. So it's just like this film, maybe not on the like as you're viewing it, but as you think about it, yeah, it's a lot of juggalo shit here just because of Verhoeven satiring the rich and how we should feel about the rich. Maybe we should have like it's always fuck 12. It's always fuck 12. Um,
It's always
but
fucked
this is
up.
but RoboCop as a 12 that you go, you know what? I feel bad for that dude. He didn't deserve what
Right.
happened to him.
But I promise you this: RoboCop would not judge a juggalo and treat him bad for being a juggalo.
No, I don't think so.
No, he would not. He would not give a fuck if you poured Fago on his head and graffitied on his back. We seen that. We seen motherfuckers do that to
Well,
him.
I actually think we got that movie. I think it's RoboCop 3.
Right. We've seen motherfucking RoboCop go through that. So he's down to jug a little bit.
Yeah, speaking and in our recent drug culture a little bit, we got the album Robocop,
Hey, hey,
which took the words RoboCop and kind of put an anarchist thing right in the middle. So it's Robocop, and there's poor RoboCop Murphy getting shot down, but it's fuck 12 always.
hey, fuck 12. They reassembled the crew and, handled business. Hey,
Which
look at, they corrupted Dev and Dev, hey, he had to take him out. You know what I
here's the
mean?
thing, I like the fact that Dev is the one with the shotgun.
Hey, he took him
He's
out.
the Clarence dude.
No doubt. Hey, shout out to Dev. For real.
Devereaux. There's Darby and Saga Umo. Saga. Which we did hear some songs like this. If you missed out on Juggalo High, you missed two junts from this played live. You missed it.
Highlight of the weekend for sure.
Oh, there's tons of highlights in that weekend, and I got to hang out with you.
Hey, whoop whoop.
Whoop whoop. Okay, I don't know.
But hey, I think Emil would have been a juggalo in today's age. I think he might have had a change of heart, maybe. Been running with the jugs instead of Clarence and them. If
Well,
you know,
I would think that maybe that would have saved some people in the old Detroit is if they jugged, but
yeah,
he wanted to hang out with Clarence instead. I mean, Clarence was a cop killer. He was taking down cops like crazy and didn't care. So,
right,
and at that point, they felt like they could do no wrong. Well, that's just because Dick Jones would save their ass anytime
right.
they get in trouble. So, because they were purposely doing stuff. But anyways, all
Well,
right.
that was Dick's henchman. He had and that's why they were like, "Hey, be careful." Dick's actually got some teeth because anytime he had some problems, he just call up Clarence and the crew. Hey, we'll blow up this shop. We'll do this. It was pretty much Dick calling the shots on the boys.
Mm-hmm.
He
Mm-hmm. But
had any problem, he ran OCB. He let him right out.
I think I think the best line from this movie comes from Clarence. I mean, you got do you can you do you fly? Um,
What he's, hey Bobby.
hey Bobby, do you fly? You got the scene where he's like, it's funny thing about cops, me and cops, I don't like cops. And I don't like them either. You got my favorite line is when he kills Bobby. Bob has a bunch of hookers in his house. He's celebrating because he's number two now, and Dick Jones is because RoboCop works so well that Bob is living the fast life. Well, you don't piss off Dick Jones too long before Clarence comes knocking on your door,
Mm,
and it's bitches leave.
bitches leave.
Bitches leave.
Hey, homie was having a good old time, bro. He was sniffing coke off them chicks' titties, bro.
Oh yeah,
I
they're
was like, whoa, homie. That's bro. That's the
bro.
life right there. I
Well,
want. Hey,
another
he
thing
was
about
doing the
money.
damn thing.
Yeah, well, because he had money.
He
It's not like
did. Hey, I can't say I did not recreate that scene once or twice in my life,
wow.
but
That's why
you
you like
know,
RoboCop so much. Like, yeah, I did the Bobby. I did Bobby.
you did the Bobby. That
but
that's that's the statement right there, the Bobby.
any final words about your RoboCop?
Final words about RoboCop.
Like, if what would you say to somebody who has never seen has never seen RoboCop, and what's your pitch for them to watch RoboCop?
I mean, it's an all around great movie. No matter how you take, no matter what side you take on it, you know what I mean. You're gonna have a good time. It really is. You want to watch it again just to see the parts that you missed. Um, yeah, one of my favorite movies of all time.
I can tell. I can hear the passion. What shocked me is like, yeah, I love it because of the bad guys. I'm like, usually some of your best films is because you love the villain so much.
No doubt.
Because you can visualize you being either the hero beating up the villains or you hanging out with the villains. I mean, there's there's something really powerful about that. Okay. My final words will be in the next section where I'll rate the movie and my whoops up, whoops down. I think if you've listened to this, you probably know where I'm leaning towards. But it's definitely a film that I'm glad that we did. And when you said RoboCop, I'm like, hell yeah, let's fucking talk about RoboCop. And we've been doing it for about an hour, which I think is a good time well spent. So, Mr. Unhappy, where can people find you? And there's anything you want to plug?
Well, the YouTube is Unhappy Mask, of course. You can check out some videos there. But other than that, man, we got the third round of the Team MUJ coming up. Uh, Check that out. Team
Shout out.
MUJ on YouTube. Shout out Team MUJ for show. But yeah, just check that out. And pretty soon we'll have some music on the Spotify's and all your streaming platforms coming real soon. The Dang-a-Lang, Junt, and the Finger Licking. Look out for that wicked shit. For sure, I got some more stuff coming, but just you got to stay tuned. You know what I mean?
All right. Yeah. So in the bio, I will have some of where you can find Unhappy, and especially to that song that was on that shit fire from TeamMUJ. That will be in the bio. So check it out. I like it. But thank you for joining the show.
No
Unhappy.
doubt. Hey, one more thing. Gloom to the Tomb 2, May 2nd.
May
You know
2nd.
what I mean? I'll be out there in Vegas. You want to see some wicked shit? They got Willie Hayes,
What?
Cheese House,
You know it.
goddamn Gloom Unit,
Whoop,
Frankie
whoop.
Goldie, Acetone Boogie. Every man, it's gonna be a turn up for sure, man.
Humble
Pull the
among.
fuck up. Humble Among the homie. This will be
Yeah. If you
the
like
second
Humble,
time I performed with him. That
here's the
shit'll be
thing.
dope.
Humble doesn't perform very often, so if you're able to come to the show, you're getting a good fucking lineup, especially of
Hey,
just jug underground shit, dog.
if you like
Uh,
Juggalo music, man, this is the
and
spot to be.
needing an excuse to go to Vegas, like yeah, go,
Duh.
go.
Of
Unfortunately, I
course.
will not be there, but it's always love from the Gloom unit, from Daishin himself.
No doubt. Let's
Dang,
pull
a little
up.
Daishin right there. Look at that, Gloom unit for life. All right, thanks for joining me. Joining me, unhappy. I'll see you at the gathering.
Two whoops up, baby. Let's
What's
go.
up? Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop.
As this episode comes to a close, let me give you my final thoughts on RoboCop. I think RoboCop is Paul Verhoeven's masterpiece. I think he takes this silly concept of a cop becoming a robot and making something into a violent, dark, humorous thing that kind of is critiquing the Reagan administration. But as we sit in here in 2025, I think there's a lot of parallels that you can see here today, and how we're only like 4 years away from the time of RoboCop, and you can almost see that possibly in 4 years we could have wind up in a RoboCop situation, which is crazy. Um, but I have a lot of fun with this film. It's a film that I revisit a lot. There's just so much to the bone, so much depth in the film that it gets a whoops up. I think this movie is worth your time. I think it's a film that you will watch probably over and over again. Um, so yeah, it gets a whoops up. It's probably one of the strongest whoops up. So that's RoboCop. I want to thank Unhappy for coming on the show today and sharing his favorite film with me, and getting really in depth with his past and how the film connects with him as a person. Um, you can check out his latest music video that was that appeared on That Shit Trash That Shit Fire in the bio. Chicken Lickin'. It's a fire track. Check it out. I'm looking forward to seeing and hearing more from Unhappy. I think he's an artist that's up and coming, so somebody to keep it out from the St. Louis massacre. The Masked Man from St. Louis. I don't know, he doesn't wear a mask, but his first album I listened to was called Mask Killer. So that's where I'm getting that from. But yeah, that's the show. Thanks for watching. Um, Till next week, I'm hoping to get a movie in that I've been hearing about. I'm hoping to get that in before we start the movie season, the summer movie season. So that's the show. Love you guys. Whoop whoop. Much clown. Motherfucking love.